I am Chris Cross, the VFTA president. Gladstone, you could make it. Debbie Hopke is going to be our mediator for the evening, so I'm going to turn it over to her. Okay, she'll give us how it's going to go down.
Thank you, Chris. I was going to situate this like it's a microphone. As Chris said, my name is Debbie Hopke, and I'm going to be the monitor for the evening, and I envision that tonight's session will go much like they have in the past. We'll have an introduction of the candidates, then we'll have a question and answer session where candidates will have 3 minutes to answer, and then following the question and answers, they'll have a time to recap, have closing statements at the end. So for the first question is just an introduction. You'll have no more than 5 minutes, and we're going to start in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Brian Evans, and the question is, we'd just like for you to introduce yourself, tell us why you're interested in a school board position, and why you feel you're qualified.
My name's Brian Evans. I live north of town. I'm a farmer. I think my qualifications are I've ran my own business for 15 years now and learned how to manage people and finances. And really, why I wanted to do it was to be a voice for the students and the parents and support the staff and keep the district strong in education.
Thank you. Next is Dana Keller.
My name is Dana Keller. I moved into this community 21 years ago. I've been in education for 26 years or so. I'm a high school business teacher, master in administration, high school level. I ran for school board again because I enjoyed my first 3 years. First 3 years was a learning piece. You get just enough information to help you then make the second go around a little bit easier. But I enjoy being a voice. I enjoy listening. And I'm raising my kids in this community, so I want our district to keep moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Dana. Stacia Wilson.
I'm Stacia Wilson. I have lived in Vandalia my entire life. Both me and my husband, Jeff, graduated from the district. My 2 kids are also in the district. I have a first grader, Landon, and a senior this year, Logan. I've always been proud to say I'm from VFTA, and I just want to have be able to listen to the community and to bring that pride a little bit back into our school. And I think this is a way that I can help do that.
Okay, thank you, candidates. So this concludes the opening introductions. The questions that have been submitted by members of the school board and community are what we will ask next. And I'll change the order each time when I ask for the answer. So Brian, you're first with the first question. What qualities would you bring to the Vandalia Board of Education?
Thank you. Well, experience in finance and management. Probably my 2 best, and that's it, I guess. I mean, other than that's it. Sorry.
Dana?
It's a benefit that I have an education degree and just have been trained as an educator, but I have not taught public schools for a really long time. So I would say that at this stage, the qualities that I bring is my ability to research. I'm the only current board member that has attended every educational opportunity provided by the Missouri School Board Association. So the conferences, the spring trainings, the fall trainings. I take advantage of all those training sessions, and then just to be able to research and keep up on what Jeff said he's trying to squeak through or not trying to squeak through, and being a voice in that way as well.
Thank you. Stacia Wilson.
I think the qualities I'll bring is that I can make my decisions based upon evidence rather than my own personal beliefs. I think that you have to be able to make decisions that's best for the whole school as a whole rather than a select group of people, and I think I can bring that approach to the school board.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Dana. The question is, what issues do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs, and what changes would you recommend?
Current issues?
Issues.
Okay, so read that again then, please.
What issues do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs, and what changes would you recommend?
Well, currently our academic programs need to be looked at in terms of curriculum. Where do we stand at curriculum? Are we up to date? Do we need to be bringing them up to date? Do we need to get that on a schedule so that those, you know, it's not that we have to update them all at the same time. So I think it is my understanding that we have out of date educational materials that just need to be upgraded and brought up to speed. Give me the second half of that again.
What changes would you recommend?
My changes for academics is to get those programs on a schedule, on a maintenance schedule, to be evaluated from every different angle, whether it be students, teachers, of course, and administration, and make sure that those are remaining up to date and relevant for the rapid changes for our students.
Stacia, I'll repeat the question. What issues do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs, and what changes would you recommend?
I'd probably piggyback on what Dana said as far as the curriculum. I think we could also add some technology in with our curriculum as well, whether it be iPads or just getting current information in front of our kids is, I think, a major issue that we're facing. I also feel that keeping good teachers and recruiting good teachers is another issue we have. You know, we live in a small community. We've made a lot of positive changes as far as getting a Y and getting things in town to attract those people. And I think there's other things that we can do to help attract, you know, whether it be the 4-day school week or what have you, but we need to make sure we're keeping, because in the end, our children's education is based on having quality faculty and staff. So I believe that we need to work on keeping the great staff we have and recruiting future staff.
Brian, I'll repeat the question. What issues do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs, and what changes would you recommend?
I think technology is going to be, well, it already is a huge deal. Our kids need to be able to keep up with every day is changing faster than I can keep up with it. But we need to keep that evaluating where the next step is in technology and keeping the teachers educated on that. And what was the second half of the question?
What changes would you recommend?
Okay. I would kind of like to look into more of the 4-day school week and maybe infrastructure would be a big thing for me, like the elementary parking lot. But that's it.
Okay, thank you. Stacia, we'll begin with you this time. The question is, how would you separate yourself from being a board member and being a parent when it comes to issues with your children at school or in sports?
Again, this kind of goes back to what I've already said as far as you've got to be able to make your decisions based on the evidence that you have in front of you and not any personal feelings. You have to act as what is best for the student body as a whole. And so I just think moving forward, you've got to be unbiased, you've got to be open, you've got to be an active listener, and those are things that I would be able to do as a school board member and keep my personal keep my personal grudges or beliefs or what have you out of the picture.
Okay, Brian, I'll repeat the question. You're next. How would you separate yourself from being a board member and being a parent when it comes to issues with your children at school or in sports?
Well, what happens on the school board needs to be for the benefit of all students. To further, you know, learning disabled to the advanced students, you got to accommodate everybody. And so wherever your kid falls into that, you know, you can't just focus on what's best for your kid. You have to focus on the further education of the whole community's children. That's it.
Yep. And, yeah, I believe you addressed that. Dana, I'll repeat the question for you. How would you separate yourself from being a board member and being a parent when it comes to issues with your children at school or in sports?
I start almost every one of my communications to a teacher as I'm communicating to you as a parent. I never leave there. I never take a chance at leaving it to them to decipher who they're talking to. So if I have the last 3 years, I'm active with my kids. If they're not doing their homework, teachers get an email and they know it's coming from a parent. As a school board member, I usually go through the administrative chain versus so if I have a school board issue, I don't go to the teacher. I go to the administration to allow the administration to do their job. As a parent, I go to teachers or the coaches.
Question number 4, Brian, we'll start with you. What do you think is the relationship of school board to teachers, and how do you believe board members can best receive input from school employees on salary and other policies that affect them?
I think their best way of communicating it would be to show up at school board meetings and voice their opinion right there. And then they have a superintendent to go through. But really, that's the best place. That's the purpose of a public meeting, is for people to come up and voice their opinions, including the staff, I think.
Dana, you're next. I'll repeat the question. What do you think is the relationship of school board to teachers, and how do you believe board members can best receive input from school employees on salary and other policies that affect them?
Well, I'm going with Brian on this one. He's absolutely right. I mean, I'm always, the relationship between a board member and a teacher is no different than my relationship with, as a board member and a student, or board member and a community member that wants to talk. I'll always listen, but the best avenue for anyone, teacher or student, is to use those board meetings as a resource. And if there are policies that they want changed, there's always a way to bring that to the board's attention for us to evaluate.
Stacia, same question. What do you think is the relationship of school board to teachers, and how do you believe board members can best receive input from school employees on salary and other policies that affect them?
Pretty much what they've already discussed, to use that public meeting to come and voice their concerns. But I also think that as a school board member, it is, we should sit there and listen openly and fully to those concerns as well. Sometimes I feel like people show up and maybe it's not always fully heard, and I think that is our duty to the public to, is when they do come to these meetings and when they do have concerns, that we listen fully and address those concerns.
Dana, you'll start this next question. The question is, how do you feel about a 4-day school week, and academically, do you feel it helps students?
How I feel is really irrelevant, because it's not what I want. I mean, it's not about how I feel, it's about the information that was provided. So I was open-minded. I will continue to be open-minded. I did my research. I'll continue to do research. And so in terms of the recent discussion of how the 4-day week, I still stand by. I have teachers that say I need days, and I have teachers that say my kid could sleep longer. I'm going to err in favor of those teachers that are there for the academic piece of it. So I feel how the teachers that showed up and used that platform at the board meeting that we just spoke about, I erred in their favor. So it's really not about how I feel, because there's just, the statistics are not out there to say what is driving the academics right now. There's been too many changes in the assessments, MSIPs, ESIPs, and all them other SIPs. No director at the state level, back to a director state level, tests being thrown out. There's nothing that showed that we've been able to put together yet to say the 4-day week created this. I think that's yet to come, and I think it will come, but right now, for me, as a board member, there was no evidence to take that big of a change.
Stacia, the same question. How do you feel about a 4-day school week, and academically, do you feel it helps students?
I think in the end, like Dana said, whether or not there's the studies to fully back whether academically it is good or it's not good, I don't know. But you could use that for either side. You don't know if it's good or you don't good, or it's not good. So I don't want to just hinge on that. I do understand, and the teachers that came to the last couple of board meetings, I truly, there was pros and cons for both sides. And to try to wrap this up in 5 minutes is impossible, because this is a discussion we've had for 2 years and countless hours. But again, I think there are valid points versus the days versus the hours. There are also valid points as far as the time you have those children in the seats. If you can keep them excited about school, and whether that 4 days does that and gives them a little more initiative to work harder those 4 days, maybe you get more output having 4 days versus 5 days. But we don't know the answers to that. I definitely think it's something that we should look into. Change is good, I think, in a lot of places, and maybe that's something that we need to look into and discuss even further on down the road, and go from there. But in the end, you've got to make the decision what's best for the kids academically, but we've got to look at all of the issues surrounding it, and not just a couple of them. So,
Brian, how do you feel about a 4-day school week, and academically, do you feel it helps students?
I have 2 different views. Personally, I want it. But as far as what's best for the student, that's what matters. So, if it shows that 5 days better, that's the way I would vote. If I can find studies that show me that 4 days better for both the student and the teachers, then that would be the way I'd go. But I really think it would help if we did go that route. Cut down on maybe doctor's visits during the day, maybe, who knows, it might not, but it help teachers with them half days of school. I think our kids don't get too much out of it. They come to school, they leave either before lunch or right after, and I ask mine all the time when they get home, what'd you do today? And a lot of them times, oh, nothing today. But I know they did something, but, it's just 10-year-old for you, 11-year-old. But, whatever the studies show and prove helps the better education and keep it strong and keep the kids motivated, I think. And really adding a half an hour onto the day ain't going to affect the kids one way or another, I don't think.
Okay. Our next question, we start with Stacia. And the question is, what is your opinion regarding one-to-one technology for students?
again, this is something I think we're going to have to move towards. A lot of the bigger districts already have that in place, and so that's another place where we talked about as our issues earlier, where we lack maybe on the technology and the curriculum side. Again, I don't know that studies have shown if there's a greater increase in testing scores switching to that one-to-one or not. Time I think will tell on that as well. It's also something we have to look at because it's going to be a huge cost going into it. And do we have the money or do we have the funds to put into something like that? And then once you purchase the computers, the added cost of tech support. And Tony already works his butt off keeping up with what we have. If every child has a computer in their hand, how are we going to manage that? So there's a lot of issues that go along with the that part of it that we again just have to look into, get the numbers, find supporting studies that show yes, this is the way to go. No, it doesn't really help the test scores that much, and then look at all aspects of it again before we make a decision.
Brian, the same question. What is your opinion regarding one-to-one technology for students?
First of all, we need to know if it actually benefits them. And if it does, great. Then we got to find funding. Then we got to be able to continue to fund that. Is a big thing. Keeping, well, that would be part of our infrastructure after that. So we have to spend money each year just for that. And keep more tech members up to date in here to work on it. Just one man can't do it. Two people probably do it. If it does benefit them, great. We'll try to figure out a way to do it. Grants or whatever we do.
Dana, same question. What is your opinion regarding one-to-one technology for students?
Well, I've had the privilege of taking a tour of a school that does one-to-one technology, and I was quite surprised to learn that every kid did have an iPad or a tablet. I think the school I saw was all iPads. That's who had their contract. The creativity that those devices brought out in children just amazed me. Their abilities to create stories, little short videos. The high school kids would read books and then download them to the library, and the elementary kids would check them out and have that read along to go with it, so that you had the upper levels benefiting the lower level groups as well. The interaction that I watched happen inside the classroom with kids, we see it in our classrooms now where the kids go in, they sat in front of the smart board, and the kids all had a tablet in their hand and they would pop something up, and the kids couldn't verbally shout it out. They had to use their little gamepad at the time to answer the questions, and that gave the teachers instant feedback on what they needed to do, what had been mastered, what had not been mastered, versus having to wait till the end of the day and then grade everybody's papers and then figure it back out from that point. So I like the instant feedback that's given to the teachers. But what I also was completely surprised by was, you think one-on-one, you just do away with all your textbooks, and that is not the case. You still have to have your textbooks. The kids still had a book in front of them, they still had an ink pen. It didn't replace the traditional learning, that only enhanced what they had. I'm in favor of it, but you have to get established. You have to have the money to get established. Then you have to have a rotating budget to keep it. If you can't keep it functional, it's not working.
Brian, this is your question, first round. How should the district prepare for potential cuts in funding?
Well, I think we need to go out and research, like the power plant out here. They're saying we're going to lose that funding, or could, in 2021. I think now you got to start getting ready for it if you think that's going to happen. And if it don't, great, you're ready. But you have to be prepared. And I really don't know where you can make cuts. Prepare for one. Personally, I would have to, be more involved and see. But one thing I know, you can't cut the kids out. You got to make sure we're doing all we can for them. Where do you take the money from?
question, how should the district prepare for potential cuts in funding?
I hope that we don't have to prepare for that. But if you paid much attention at all to a school budget, the largest, almost all of that money is in salaries. It's in people. So when you start talking about making any cuts of any significance, we've watched it happen in our own district, that we've had to non-replace. Teachers retire, we don't replace them, which then creates a larger workload for the next individual or larger size classrooms. So how do we prepare for it? I don't think you do prepare. We can only react at the time that it happens. I would like to think that our district has put themselves in a good place because the voters increased the tax levy. So should we lose the Duke money, that should replace it. So I'm hoping we don't lose all the Duke money so that it's not just a replacement, but yet an increase. So I don't know that there's any preparation because honestly, the only way to deal with budget cuts is to deal with people.
Stacia, how should the district prepare for potential cuts in funding?
I hate to say that you can't prepare for it. It's always got to be in the back of your mind. You've always got to be looking, what if, what if, what if. And I know back to the 4-day week, I know one of the reasons that the current board chose not to go is because we weren't in the financial position that we needed to go to a 4-day week. In my opinion, that's one way that can help us in the event that we do have budget cuts. If we're already in that 4-day week cycle, maybe we're already building those reserves. So that's one way that we can look forward and prepare. I hate to be reactive on it because you never want to be behind the game. You always want to stay out in front. Again, it would still go back to what's academically best for our kids and all those, everything has to be considered in those decisions. Cutting budgets is never a good thing, whether you're in, I'm not in school or I'm not in education, but even in my business, in crop insurance, we get cut by the government all the time, and you've got to be prepared for it, and you've got to just make those hard decisions. And sometimes maybe it does come down to salaries or this or that, but you try to do everything else before you start hurting the people that you employ.
This question, Dana, you'll be the first to answer. Other than funding, what do you think is the district's greatest challenge in the next 3 to 5 years?
Wow. Challenge. Our biggest challenge is to finish what we tried to start with the elementary rehab. Originally that included that elementary parking lot being fixed, and it included some funding for some other things. Our biggest challenge is to get our grounds back under control and to make sure that we are staying up to date on a maintenance schedule so that hopefully our high school parking lot doesn't end up like the elementary school parking lots, and we maintain those things. We maintain the elementary side of it, that we, all of the newness of the elementary, we take care of what we've established, and then we tend to the needs that's moved into this point.
Stacia, other than funding, what do you think is the district's greatest challenge in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's hard to pick just one. I do agree with the upkeep and the maintenance of the buildings and the parking lots. That's definitely something we need to work on. But I also think it's just we've had so much turnaround in teaching, and I think, again, you need teachers that are here, committed to our school. It makes the education of our kids even stronger. So I think we really just need to, in the next 3 to 5 years, really focus on keeping our teachers, recruiting quality staff, and maybe hopefully filling some of those positions that we've left vacant for the last couple of years.
Brian, other than funding, what do you think is the district's greatest challenge in the next 3 to 5 years?
I have several. I think technology and the use of that, kind of like that one-to-one. And then infrastructure. Like I am saying, the school down there in the parking lot is just, that's going to be a huge undertaking. You know, try and make it safer where when the buses pull in, people aren't trying to pull out, and vice versa. Things like that. And really teacher retention. So, just big things.
Stacia, this question you'll answer first. What do you see as the primary function of the school board?
Primary function of the school board. First and foremost, it is the hiring and employing of a superintendent, but it goes beyond that, in my opinion. We've got to be we've got to have open ears, listen to the community. We develop and adopt policies that our school board, that our superintendent enforces. Oversee facility issues are one of the things. But mainly, I think we just need to listen to the community and understand what our values and concerns are, and and make our policies adaptable to fit the needs of the community.
Brian, what do you see as the primary function of the school board?
To hear and understand people, hire superintendent, but really be the voice of the people that elected you there. You know, it's, their vote that got you there. They wanted you to represent them. So that's your primary job, and to make sure the education of our kids is the best quality we can give them. And that's would be the foremost thing. Just education standards, the different curriculum that we adopt, make sure it's the best for them. And
Dana, what do you see as the primary function of the school board?
Well, the MSBA answer is to hire a superintendent and to create policies for our district. But the purpose of, it's not an individual, it's a board. It's a group of people that have to be open-minded. You have to listen. You have to be willing to do some research. You have to be willing to, the board has to have some uncomfortable conversations amongst ourselves. Have to be able to handle at times what feels like confrontational settings. Then you have to sort through all of that and make what you feel that information supports. So with every topic that we've touched on today, every answer that we've given, it's not as simple as sitting up here and giving a 2-second answer as to why we think or why we don't think or how we feel or don't feel. It's about the rest of that information that we've never had before. So when you become a board member, you get a whole lot more information that we never had, that you never had. We talked about teacher retention. Well, as a school board member, you may know why our retention is not, why are we losing teachers? And it may, sometimes there are circumstances that have nothing to do with your community or those, it's just an uncontrollable event, and that's information that never gets to leave that room. So the purpose of that school board is to talk. I've been in many meetings where I thought I had enough information to make a decision, and the discussion that occurs has changed my mind to support otherwise. So the the purpose is you have to act as a board. It's not a bunch of individuals. It's a board, and you have to come to some agreements. Sometimes you have to agree to just disagree, and then live with what that is. But just going to govern what you're given and take it to the next step.
Brian, this question starts with you. Do you feel teachers should be involved in the evaluation of administrators?
Yes and no. Yeah, I think they should have say in, the leadership. But then at the same time too, there are people are above you to manage you, and you're there to manage the children below you. It's just it's a more or less a pyramid, and each person should have their place, but it don't mean that the people on the bottom shouldn't be able to go above the top and go right, take care of a problem or an issue. But yes, I think teachers get reviewed, superintendents ought to be reviewed. Everybody needs an evaluation.
Dana, do you feel teachers should be involved in the evaluation of administrators?
I believe teachers should have a voice, yes. I believe that.
Stacia, do you feel teachers should be involved in the evaluation of administrators?
I do believe they should, yes.
The last question of the evening, we're going to start with Dana. Do you think it is important to support the recommendations and input of administration?
Yes. It is important that we hire individuals to serve in that role. It is our job to support them. But at the same time, it is also our job to make sure that we have all the details and the information and to make sure, you have to be able to back up what you're moving forward. I believe that a superintendent or the administration, doesn't have to be superintendent, high school principal, should come in and say, this is my recommendation. And that all of the legwork will have been done. We should understand what, why, where we're going with minimal discrepancies among what people think.
Stacia, do you think it is important to support the recommendations and input of administration?
I think it's important that we listen to those recommendations, and then we have to make our own decision as far as if we support those recommendations or not. But part of our job is to hire that superintendent, and I think we should have the trust that we're hiring the right person and they have the expertise in the area that whatever the issue is or whatever the cause is that we're trying to support. And I think we've got to value the person's education and expertise that they have. Whether or not we have to support that, we have to make our own decision as far as that goes.
Brian, do you think it is important to support the recommendations and input of administration?
Well, they're kind of the feet on the ground. They're here every day. They're probably know the most about what is going on day-to-day operations, staffing issues, everything. So yes, we have to listen to the recommendations. Now, granted, say you might not be able to go along with that recommendation every time, but you have to take it into consideration, and that's what they're there for. They're there for to recommend to you and to tell you what is going on and what maybe might need to go on in the future, or what we can change to better the future for the children.
So this concludes our question and answer session for this evening. The last 3 minutes will be a closing statement by each of the candidates, and we'll start in reverse order, so we'll start with Stacia Wilson.
Again, I appreciate you guys coming out here tonight to listen to what we have to say. If elected, you know, I'm eager to jump in there. You know, I don't know near as much as Dana or some of the other current members, just because I haven't had the opportunity to serve myself. But I'm looking forward to possibly getting to be a voice for our community, I take the job serious. You know, I don't come in this lighthearted, just doing it just for, you know, notoriety, because that's not why we're here, and it is a team, and we're going to work together as a team to move this school in the right direction. So I appreciate your vote on the second, but in the end, you've got to, you know, vote with where your heart is. But thank you for your time.
Dana?
I've loved every bit of the last 3 years, which is why I put my name down to run again. I have learned a lot. I've learned from students, I've learned from teachers, and I've definitely learned from the administration. It's not always fun in the moment, but the last 3 years have been very enjoyable. Enough that I voluntarily put my name on the ballot again. So what happens tomorrow may not be what happened yesterday, and you just take each day going forward with the information you have, and I hope that we're moving the district in the direction that is positive for our youth, and to make it a good place to be.
Brian?
I thank everybody for coming out, and I really was looking for a place to, you know, do more community service, and I seen it here as where I can take my expertise that I do have in business and stuff to help move the school, and I really want to be involved more directly in personally my kids' education, which that means, you know, maybe getting on the school board and helping the whole school as a whole. And because as a parent, you want the best for your children. And that's it.
Well, on behalf of everybody here, I'd like to personally thank each of you for your time and your interest in running for the school board. It does take time, and it does take interest, so we absolutely appreciate that. I'd like to thank everybody for coming and remind everybody to vote on April the 2nd, because as the old saying goes, every vote does count. So thank you very much.